I'm Jessica. I am a front-end developer intern here at Shopify, and today we are going to be talking about paper prototyping. Great. So what is paper prototyping? A paper prototype is an early hand-drawn representation of your app. Now, why is this important and how is it helpful? Well, first, it's an early representation. This is great because you can easily see how users react to your prototype, and it can also help you confirm decisions before you spend time building them out on the actual app. Next, a paper prototype is hand-drawn. This is great because it's visual, so it makes it super easy to visualize your app and the flow of your app. It's also collaborative, inexpensive, and you don't even need any technical knowledge to make your paper prototype. Now, before we get into paper prototyping your app, we're going to talk a little bit about design conventions. A design convention is an established norm that users expect apps to follow. So why is this important? And what is it? Well, first, a design convention is an established norm. This means that everyone knows about them, but nobody really talks about them outright. We all just collectively agree, accept, and expect these norms. This will make more sense with a couple examples, so let's look at design conventions in action. First, we'll just start off with the login page of Instagram. Even though this looks super straightforward to you, there are actually a lot of design conventions happening here. First, text boxes. If you look at them for what they really are, text boxes are just rectangles on your screen that are a little grayer than the rest of the screen. And they have words like username and password in them. But because text boxes are a design convention, you know that when you see one, you can type in them, and also that you're expected to enter your username and password. The next design convention on this page is the button. Even though you may not think about it, whenever you see this button that says login, you immediately know that you can click on it to log into Instagram. Also, because there is a convention for disabled buttons, you know that this button, you can't click on it right now because you haven't entered your username and password. And you know this because the button is grayed out, or it's not as vibrant as it would be if you could click on it. Even though this all sounds super obvious, if you take a step back, it's kind of crazy. Like, what if I decided to make my own version of the Instagram login page, but I decided that text boxes should be like pictures of tomatoes and that buttons would look like a unicorn, right? If you logged on to a page with 2 tomatoes and a unicorn below it, you would have no idea what was going on. So design conventions are super important to make sure that users understand and know where to go on your app. Great, now we're going to talk about a couple other established design conventions that you might want to think about using in your app. The first is a splash screen. The splash screen can appear while a game or program is launching. It's an introduction page to a website. So here we see Twitter's splash screen has a fun animation, but on the right, the All Trails splash screen, which appears when you're loading the app, is just a plain old picture. Next up, we got the navigation bar. So this is often found at the bottom of the app, and it helps users find what they are looking for. If you're going to use a nav bar, try to keep it to 5 items or less, or else your app might start to feel crowded. And as you can see, they're sort of just grouped into different categories. So in our examples, we got like a profile tab, we have a search tab, and maybe some more relevant tabs like a picture or nearby. Next up, we have our logo and header. This is at the very top of the app, and it just says the name of the app and can also have some icons up here, as we see, such as in Instagram's case with a camera and a notifications button. Next, we have our scrolling feed. A phone is pretty small and it can only fit so much information on it. So when you want to display more information that the user can access, you use a scrolling feed. And the one thing is that the user knows they can scroll down if they see a cutoff image. So if you see, let's wait for like the GIF on the left to reset, there's a cutoff image of here, the girl in the dress, and that tells the user that they can scroll down to see more information. Great, so let's apply what we just learned. If you have a device such as a phone or a laptop or a parent's laptop that you can grab, open up an app or a website and see how many of the following design conventions you can find. If you're using a website, some of these things might be a little different. There might not be, let's say, like a navigation bar or a logo and header, but you can definitely still find a lot of other items, or maybe even find some new ones that aren't listed below. If you don't have access to a device where you can open an app or a website, just think about an app or a website that you might use and try to see if you can think about any of these elements that you didn't necessarily notice before. Okay, now we're going to apply this to your Technovation app. So first, let's make an MVP. So list some features that your app will have. Next, rank these features in order of importance. Most important at the top, down to least important at the bottom. Lastly, choose the most important 2 to 3 features to focus on for now. You can always cycle back and start adding in more features later. Great, so we're going to start your paper prototype. Sketch out each screen of your MVP, most minimum viable product. So let's say you might start with your splash screen, maybe have a login page, a dashboard, and whatever other features you think you might need. Next, think about how each screen links to each other. Like, where does clicking this button lead you to? Or if you click on this tab, where do you go next? And lastly, create a walkthrough of how a user would navigate your app. So some tools that you can use if you want to do it online are Google Slides, and the GIF to the right shows a really cool way where you can edit your page setup so that it looks like a phone screen. So you can see, you can go down to page setup, change the measurement to pixels, and then click OK. And this makes each slide in your Google Slide presentation look like a phone screen. And from there, you can start adding buttons and text in. And 2 other tools you can use are Figma and Canva. These are both design tools. Figma is a little more advanced and it can be hard to try and get to know at first, but if you're into design, it could be a really cool tool to check out. And then Canva is another online free design tool that you can use to make your paper prototype. Lastly, of course, you can use the good old pencil and paper. So here are some example paper prototypes, and as you can see, they have sort of cut out like the sides of a phone, and then on the inside, they have their own screens that they have drawn out. So you can see that the phone will display any of the current screen that they're on, and let's say they have a keyboard, you can type, and then you can sort of slide your screens from one to the next. You can use a paper prototype to test out the flow of your app and how you should be navigating through your app, and this is what it is really great for. You can also use it for testing among your teammates or even potential users, and this is a really great way to just get some initial feedback on the flow of your app and on your ideas without putting a ton of time and energy into actually developing it.